What's up, beautiful? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Lisa May, and this is Thinking Beauty, where we dive into all things politics, pop culture, and personal development. This week, I'm back with a pop culture video where we're gonna dive into Slick Rick's new album, Victory, Nas's new Queens Get the Paper magazine, as well as the debacle that is Jim Jones talking crazy on the Joe and Jada podcast. Y'all, summer is off to a lit and illy start. And if you're trying to get inspired by all of the moving and shaking going on in the culture right now, and sound off on Jim Jones talking crazy about Nas, then keep on watching, because it's about to be lit. Okay, so let's start off with Slick Rick's new album. Slick Rick dropped his 5th studio album, Victory, on June 13th, and it's produced by Idris Elba and released through Seven Wallace, Idris Elba's record label. Yes, that's right. Award-winning actor Idris Elba is also a DJ, producer, and has his own record label, Seven Wallace. And Slick Rick is signed to that label. Yep. That's right. Who would have thought? What's the connection between Slick Rick and Idris Elba? Well, apparently Slick Rick and Idris Elba have known each other for years. They're both from London, and Idris tells the story of how they've always had love for each other and always saluted each other over the years. And one day they were talking about music, and Idris started telling him about his label, how he wanted to approach it like he does the film industry, which is to not be pigeonholed into one thing. Slick thought it was interesting, and he started telling Idris how he wanted to do some new music himself. So Idris flippantly says, "You should do it on my label." And lo and behold, Rick was with it. He said that Rick was curious about it and that he's an artist and could see the parallels of his artistry. And he knew that he would approach the project with integrity for the culture, for who Slick is, and for the legend that he is. And you know, I think he did a really good job. I really like the album. It's classic old school hip hop vibes.
Me so hungry, I'm lonely, console me, crony. I'm dressed.
A little bit of club and dance hall vibes mixed in.
That's more like, oh, can you believe, gotta leave? Why?
I think it's the perfect blend. Like, it feels like you're riding around New York doing a little bit of chilling and a little bit of moving and shaking. And then it gets real crisp and clean with Documents featuring Nas.
It's that alcohol at the back of your neck after a fresh cut, sharp and dressed up.
I love that song. Like, it's so James Bond meets New York. It is a concept album that tells the story of Slick Rick being the icon that he is and showcases the brilliant connection between him and Idris Elba and the magic that they create together. You know, I think it makes you appreciate Slick Rick even more, considering he's been in the game for 37 years and is still able to put out fresh, dope music that has evolved, yet still consistent with who he was when he started. Like what we know him for and what we love and appreciate him for, which is that ability to tell a compelling story and make it interesting and fun and witty and just vibey as, you know, like he's really mastered that craft. And personally, I find that this project runs the gamut of moods and emotions and really captures each one precisely and beautifully, both audibly and visually. Yes, I said visually, because there's also an accompanying film that's produced by Mass Appeal, Nas's media company and record label. The film premiered the day the album dropped down in Tribeca. Let's take a look.
Motion pictures. You had to be able to make people visualize through your mouth, through your poetry. Let the mind fly.
Now, the film either opened or closed. I'm not exactly sure because I wasn't there, but I could have been, and I am still kicking myself for not being there. But yes, it either opened or closed with a conversation with Slick Rick that was moderated by Nas, where Nas says that Slick Rick is his mentor and his teacher, and says that this project is a piece of Slick Rick's imagination. And when we're looking at it, we're looking at style and poetry and lyrics and imagination. And I think he's right, because like interludes, like I Did That, is some beautiful poetry with equally beautiful delivery and perfectly matched visuals. You know, Nas said that listening to Slick Rick is like listening to a movie. And I can definitely see that, because listening to this album definitely felt like ripping and running through New York on an adventure with Slick Rick. Like, especially on songs like Come On Let's Go, Landlord, and We're Not Losing. I was legit listening like I was watching a movie. So yeah, shout out to all involved. Slick Rick, Idris Elba, Nas, Mass Appeal, y'all did that. Oh, before I forget, let me mention that this is the first drop of Mass Appeal's Legend Has It rollout, where all summer and I guess even fall and winter, they're dropping 7 albums from 7 legendary icons, and Slick Rick was the surprise first rollout. A very dope surprise indeed, yes. Now, on to Queens Get the Paper magazine. So, over Juneteenth weekend, Mass Appeal launched a new magazine as a part of Nas's partnership with Resorts World Casino. Now, a little history on Resorts World. Resorts World is a brand of integrated resort destinations owned by the Genting Group, which is a Malaysian conglomerate, and they're looking to expand and make their New York casino similar to their property in Las Vegas. It's a $5 billion expansion that could position Resorts World as the largest casino globally, spanning 350,000 square feet. Now, this expansion also includes upgrading their gambling license, which would take the casino from a racino, which is basically a casino that can only allow racing or games and slot machines, to a full-fledged Vegas-style casino. And as a way to secure this license, they're anchoring in on the community and investing in initiatives that employ, preserve, and elevate the culture. They're doing this by creating jobs. They plan to build a 7,000-seat entertainment space, a dance club, a spa, and they also plan to build employee housing for their staff, which I think is really dope, as well as a dedicated park space, which I think we all know is important these days, a community health and wellness center, and then also a Queens STEAM Institute, which I think is really dope. It's like an education program that I think exposes kids to a range of careers in different fields. And then, most notably, they're dedicating a $20 million budget to investing in the people and culture of the community, particularly that of Jamaica, Queens, and their inter-partnership with Nas, the gateway into the Queens community.
The future is not something you wait for, it's something you build. It lives in the hands of the doers, the dreamers, the people who refuse to stand still. Resorts World is more than a casino. It's energy, it's opportunity, it's hope for the borough. A second chance for some, a first step for many. It's where community gathers, not just to win, but to build a future once imagined. This isn't just business, this is legacy. And now, it's time to invest in us. Because the future doesn't ask for permission, it moves with purpose. From our chairman to our newest employee, we're committed to Queens. And in Queens, the future is now.
I think this is a very sharp and savvy partnership. I think Nas can do so much to make this happen. As we see with the first rollout of Queens Get the Paper magazine. It's published by Resorts World and produced by Mass Appeal. And it's a free magazine that highlights all of the dope artists and culture makers in or from Queens. Nas says, at its core, this magazine is a tribute to the borough that raised us. It's about celebrating the hustle, heart, and heritage of Queens. Bringing these stories to life was nothing short of a labor of love. Now, I think Queens having their own publication dedicated to them exclusively in an economy that is so content driven is priceless, particularly because if anyone knows what to do with a big budget when it comes to content and culture, it's Nas and Mass Appeal. They have produced some amazing pieces over the years, from Video Music Box, Supreme Team, one of my faves, Wu-Tang Clan of Mics and Men, Everything's Going to Be All White, another fave, The Invaders, And like, that's just to name a few. So I already know this is going to be a top tier production that's rooted in pushing culture forward and creating new opportunities for people. They say their mission is clear. This magazine represents the heart and soul of Queens. It's for all of us, the hustlers, dreamers, artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, essential workers, community builders, and future makers. Your dreams are our dreams. Your motivation is our motivation. We want to see you win. Never stop striving, never stop reaching. World ours. I love this. I am about to be on a hunt to try to get this first issue. Okay, Lord, on to the Jim Jones debacle. Jim Jones was recently on Joe and Jada, Fat Joe and Jada's new podcast. Yes, if you didn't know, Fat Joe and Jadakiss have a new podcast that's produced by The Volume and Live Nation and sponsored by Boost Mobile. Now, I could be wrong, but I think Fat Joe might be the main driver of the production of it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he tapped Live Nation and approached Boost Mobile to sponsor it, because I think Drink Champs really inspired that generation of hip hop artists who came up with Nori. You know, they see Nori doing his thing in the podcast space, in the YouTube space. They see Joe Budden out here doing the same. And then, you know, they also see how athletes transition into commentating after they retire. I think they want to try it for themselves. And I'm not mad at it. Like, I salute them. I think this podcast has some great production. I love the opening. It's so New York, like so gritty and grand. So far, their guests have included Yankee star Chaz Chisholm, who I'm honestly not sure. I don't know who that is, except for he plays for the Yankees. Jim Jones, who we're about to talk about, and Nelly and Ashanti, which shout out to Nelly and Ashanti. They just recently got married and had a baby, and they have a new reality show called We Belong Together. Now, I'm not a big fan of couples going on reality TV shows because I think it always ends bad, but I'll definitely tune in and check this out because I like Nelly and Ashanti, and you know, I'm curious about their love story. So yeah. But anyway, back to the podcast. Now, I want to like this podcast. I really do. But Fat Joe talks too much, too loud, too aggressively, constantly. Like, I just can't. I would always be offended. Like, dag, dude, like, can I talk? You know? Anyway, Jim was on there and Fat Joe asked how he feels about the young kid saying he's more relevant than Nas. Let's take a listen.
You saying Jim Jones has more hits than Nas?
I'm from New Jersey. We grew up on ballin'.
That's one.
We did not grow up on one mic. Pop Champagne, Summer in Miami. That's a classic.
If I Rule the World. How's that comparable to those songs you just said?
I'm 22. Every Nas song that my man's MJ played, we said we heard that from what, Dub?
2K.
2K. Those songs are in the video game.
Okay.
I have never in my life said at a party, yo, throwing that Nas right now. If you did top 3 influential people regarding dressing,
But
swag, Jim Jones is top 3.
But Nas influenced Jim Jones.
Cap, Chrome Hearts and the BB Simons belts and all that. Jim Jones is like top 3. The difference between being in the game and being relevant.
But
Jim Jones is more relevant than Nas.
Jim Jones and Nas are in the same era. Jim Jones is 48 years old. Nas is 51 years old. Jim Jones just wasn't a rapper and didn't know how to rap when Nas was rapping. No matter what Jim Jones has improved to, it's still not Nas.
But
Like,
you
can
know
put a
it's
V12
funny.
in a Honda, it's
you
not
know
a
it-
Lamborghini.
But you know it's funny. The last Nas album is not better than the last Jim Jones album. It's not better than the last 3 Jim Jones.
By what
albums.
metric,
By what,
though?
yeah,
By
that's-
bars, by everything. El Capo,
It's better
the
than
deluxe is better than King's Disease.
Now, instead of educating the kid on the levels of hip hop and how it relates to relevance and paying homage to Nas by saying it was an honor for the kid to even say that because Nas was one of the influences that inspired him, he decides to pop his shit and discount Nas's career by saying Nas was hot when he first came out, but fell off after the 2000s. Nas did not fall off after the 2000s. If anything, he stepped away after his mom passed and after he got divorced. which I think is very on brand for Nas and aligns with what I always say and think, which is that the real ones always step away from the industry to maintain their sanctity and their sanity, because that industry is a beast and it'll chew you up and spit you out with no regard and no remorse. And it's easy to get caught up in that. And Nas has never wanted the spotlight or fame like that. Like, he rode that wave a bit to show that he could go commercial if he wanted, with songs like Uchi Wally, You Owe Me, Hot Boys, Did You Ever Think, and like some others. But like, I think he was motivated to do that because he had a baby to take care of. He just had his daughter Destiny. You know, he was trying to get paid, and he did. So I think Nas had every right to step away when ish got real in his personal life, you know? But it wasn't like he disappeared. He was still putting out music. In the 2000s, he dropped Stillmatic in 2001, God's Son in 2002, Street's Disciple in 2004, Hip Hop Is Dead, one of my favorites, and Nas, the album that he wanted to name the N-word, in 2007. Then in the 2010s, he released Distant Relatives, another one of my faves, in 2010. Life Is Good in 2011, another one of my faves. And then, you know, after he got divorced, I think he probably chilled out to, like, you know what I'm saying, just adjust to like his new paradigm. But then he came back in 2018 with Nasir and the Lost Tapes 2 in 2019, another one of my faves. And then of course, we all know in 2020, he came back with a vengeance with the King's Disease and Magic trilogies, you know, so what? What are they talking about? But like, in addition to not desiring fame in the spotlight, Nas and his music have matured and evolved, and it reflects the journey and growth of a 51-year-old hip-hop lyricist from Queensbridge Projects who went on to quietly become an astute and savvy businessman, making major moves in the culture and for the culture. And hip-hop purists of all generations love it and appreciate it and are maturing and evolving right along with it. Like, it matches our vibe perfectly. Naturally, this isn't going to appeal to a 19-year-old in today's music climate. And I think we all know that's by design. And it's shocking to me that Jim doesn't seem to understand this. Or maybe he does and he was just popping his shit like he said. But he should have led with paying homage to Nas and saluting Nas for his career and what he's doing now. Especially because Nas is one of the ones that inspired him. But he didn't, and that is the problem. That's why Jim is making podcast rounds while Nas is partnering to secure a $5 billion casino expansion, while also working with Slick Rick and Idris Elba on their new music and film. But you know, the interesting thing to come out of all of this for me is that I learned Mark Lamont Hill is now on the Joe Budden podcast. I did not know that. But yeah, shout out to Mark Lamont Hill and his bookstore / coffee shop, Uncle Bobby's up in North Philly. I love that spot. It's really dope. If you're ever in the Philly area, you should definitely check out Uncle Bobby's, especially if you like to read and you like coffee. But anyway, Mark Lamont Hill was appalled that Jim would even troll like that. He believes that Jim knows he's not a better rapper than Nas, can't out-rap Nas, and is not more culturally relevant than Nas. And, you know, he thought it was bad form for him to even troll like that, which I agree. But yeah, in other good news, Chrissy, Jim Jones's girlfriend, supposedly just had a baby not too long ago. Now, I don't know how true that is, but it's what I saw on social media. And if it is, congratulations to them. I would ask if they're married, but over the BET weekend, Sierra ran up on Jim Jones and told him it's time to marry Chrissy. So I guess that answers that question. I'll end by saying I think it is beautiful that Jim Jones said this right when Nas is on this run with Mass Appeal, Resorts World, Queens Get the Paper magazine, and his feature on Slick Rick's new album. I think that's just the perfect poetic justice / clapback. Nas is out here on his grown man, invested in the culture, the community, and his legacy, while Jim is out here influencing teenagers to go viral on social media. But anyway, now, girl, before we get out of here, let me give a quick honorable mention to Carrie Hilson. Carrie Hilson recently dropped a new album after being away from music for 10 years called We Need to Talk. Now, I'm not crazy about the album, but I love the single Bae.
Maybe it's your fragrance. Wanna kiss you every morning when you wake up.
That was on repeat for like a month straight. I'm not lying. I love the songs Weigh Me Down and Say That. Although I'm not crazy about the album, I definitely think it's worth checking out. You might end up loving it, like especially if you love Carrie Hilson, because it's not a bad album at all. It really isn't. I think I was just expecting to love it a little more, and it just kind of fell flat for me. You know, I think I wanted more soulful R&B, and it was a lot of pop that I just wasn't in the mood for. Check it out if you haven't and let me know what you think. Or if you have and loving it, drop down in the comments and let me know what songs you just can't get enough of. And of course, let me know what you think about these moves Nas is making. Are you inspired or what? And what do you think about Jim Jones trying to discount his career? Is it foolish or is it foolish? And lastly, do not forget to check out that new Slick Rick album, Victory, because I'm telling you, it's a vibe. Like, if you aren't entertained and motivated to do whatever it is you have to do, as my sister would say, I'll eat my hat. So yeah, go listen and come back and let me know what you think. And if you're in the New York area, go cop that Queens Get the Paper magazine and get inspired. And if you're feeling generous, cop me an issue and mail it to me. Okay, beautiful. Until next time, Lisa May here saying peace, love, and blessings.